did promise you Shakespeare. We're gonna be doing Shakespeare.
It's Shakespeare.
Oh yeah. And it's not the bloodiest one, but it's pretty bloody. Cheers. So we went to see the Macbeth with David Tennant.
The live stream?
Is it a live stream?
Yeah, they call it a live stream.
Oh gosh.
The only way that I can see that it actually is a live stream is that it's probably literally at that moment being sent to the theater.
No, I think the reason is because this is not the first one that did in this way. And they've been doing it like for 10 or more years. And the very first one was a live stream. It was actually live streamed across like a couple of different continents. So you have to some people were sitting in the cinema at 6 o'clock in the morning because continents. and so now they have because they've been doing it this long, streamlined a little bit. So they're doing like a bunch of, it's the same one but repeated a couple of times. So live stream is kind of the whole thing is kind of weird because it's like it's a theater piece that should have been on theater, but theater is ephemeral, and they thought at National Theatre, which is correct, if we record it and maybe show it to, then we'd want to show it to other people. But putting it out on video and DVD, they've done that also. I mean,
yeah, I would prefer that actually.
Absolutely, but that's been done like the.
Then I can watch it multiple times.
Royal Shakespeare Company. I have a couple of the videotapes from way back when from the Royal Shakespeare Company. They were effing expensive, but at least you could then see them if you're not going to be able to see the play. And so this kind of thing where you make something that is ephemeral, you make it permanent, but then you make it ephemeral again by just putting it on once, because you can only see it that one time in the cinema, or that 1 week where it's a couple of times repeated. I think if you really want it, and in the Netherlands you could see it like 5 times, but that's it, then it's gone, or supposedly, except that it isn't because it's recorded. And I would prefer indeed they put it out, do all this because it makes you happy and gives you this performance kind of vibe, which is what you want. But then put it out on a Blu Ray, make it an effing expensive Blu Ray if you need to, make it for charity if it makes you happy. But fans will buy it. I would want to buy this just because favorite actor, you know. Yeah. And yeah, it's going to cost going to be one of the most expensive DVDs you own, but but not putting it out there is really so strange. And I think it actually doesn't work, because I have heard of some of these other productions are being seen where they shouldn't be seen, because, you know, people will people.
Well, that's probably why they didn't stream it to a streaming service, because then they figure everybody's watching it at home, and
a streaming service is really is way too public for what they have in mind. They want that 5 days of performances, and only.
So they want the exclusive club of people to see it. They want it to be a larger exclusive club to see it, but still an exclusive club.
And we were part of the club because we knew we were going to go, and I saw the tickets in time because sold out. And cinema, because it is cinema, on the whole it's not sold out here in the Netherlands. So this one was absolutely sold out.
We're never in the theater. Well, we don't go usually opening day or anything, but...
Yeah, but that is not even opening day, it's just 1 day.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, that's why it's sold out. Yes.
So the production is David Tennant's Cush Jumbo, who I'd never seen before. David Tennant, of course, we'd seen before, but excellent production. And
Cush apparently is a theatre actress only. Has a massive career in theatre, so we would never have seen her.
Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Everybody's wonderful. When they do Macbeths, it's written for a medium small cast, and if you look at the parts properly, you can do a pretty small cast. You can recycle actors to do other parts. So you don't have to have a big cast, you don't have to have a big stage. And one of the reasons I never encouraged you to watch any other, because this is her first time seeing Macbeth.
Yes, my first Macbeth.
And I'd seen some before. I'd seen some stage productions that were on videotape, a couple of actual productions, and I saw a couple of movies. And the problem with the movies is that it's a bloody man in a bloody time doing bloody things. And in a movie, they can go absolutely ape on that. And they do, and not for Peanut Gallery. Peanut Gallery don't like that.
You know, I basically tuned out at Braveheart, and literally when that came out. So
and potentially Macbeth could be worse if you put it like that. But if you put it on stage, they are limited in what you can actually do. I mean, you can do blood, guts, and gore, but it's going to be like a sack of blood. And
they only did a little blood. There were no guts. There was no gore.
I expected to see some more blood, guts, and gore. Because I've seen pictures of the Coriolanus they did in 2012 from the top of my head. It's Tom Hiddleston one. So lots of pictures of that. And there was a torrent of... He was covered in blood.
Maybe it is like, well, we did it there. We don't have to do it for here. Also, the stage was in the middle. And if you're going to be, dripping loads of...
They did in the
Coriolanus. It's going to fall to the sides and start sliding into the audience.
It's one bucket of blood, but it gets everywhere. Well, it was the Coriolanus was like 20 times more blood than I did in this production. They went real quiet on the production. In the actual story, there is a lot of blood, like bloody hands and bloody blood everywhere, Mm-hmm. So they could have gone ham on it. Mm-hmm. And there's witches in it, and there could be lightning in it. So I did do a warning for beforehand, possibly strobe, but they really went.
I don't think they can. That's allowed anymore, especially in English theater. Strobe lighting.
That's more of an English theater thing than American movies are still doing it.
Yeah.
Mm. Interesting thing about this production. So we can talk about it, but you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm going to put in as many pictures as I can, or moving images that I can find, because that's all you're going to be able to see. And we can talk about it, and we shall. And I liked about the production, so it is set in Scotland of about the year 1000, so effing long time ago. And they had, David Tennant has his own Paisley accent. Mm-hmm. And the Cush, I think she's not... she's London or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard her speak. She has a very distinctive English accent, so she just made it plain.
Yeah, and we had
and the Cal McKellen. He's actual Scotsman.
Yes. Who is also actual Scots person is Ros Watt, who played the young Malcolm. We'll talk about him but I looked him up because I wanted to know what the pronouns were going to be. And they also speak like a local Scottish dialect. Mm-hmm. So real Scots. We have one Irish. The Lady Macduff was definitely Irish. Mm. And everybody basically used their own local accent, but in a way that you easily understandable. And even if it hadn't been, the whole thing was subtitled in English. It was like the thing was hard-coded, subtitled in English. Yeah. Because apparently for Shakespeare, we don't need it, but
we don't need it.
Everybody else does.
Appreciate it. It was my first Macbeth, and I won't be the only person, because I represent a part of the audience that would be okay with going to Shakespeare, but really is going for David Tennant. That's me.
Yeah, but
So you need to make it available, and it is a really good way to get Shakespeare to the people, because you put David Tennant or Cumberbatch or Tom Hiddleston on in a Shakespeare, you send it to the people.
Yeah, but then
the people go watch because they love their stuff, and they go, oh, actually, Shakespeare's pretty okay. And then they're like, okay, now I've been introduced to Shakespeare. Now I'm not that kind of a fan because I know Shakespeare. Don't worry about it. But I was thinking that this was actually a good enough production that I would go to without David Tennant, except that I wouldn't, because the only reason I went was David Tennant.
No, but I would, if you had said, okay, I want to see the other plays that I haven't seen, I would have sent you towards a stage production like this. The other production I will send you guys to, and you if you're interested. There's on YouTube. There's 2 productions that are worth seeing. There's one with Iain McKellen and Judi Dench, which I just saw was remastered, so there should be a really good version of it. It's like it's a little bit less of the audience in this production, but it is got the same feel without the drippy blood, which is what you would want. And the other one is a straight up videographing of a stage production of Jeremy Brett and Piper Laurie.
Oh.
And that one is more utilitarianly good. It's just plain good. And the Iain McKellen one is a little bit more floaty, like this one.
Yeah, I heard about the Judi Dench one, that it is super minimalist.
Yes. And this one also has minimalist tendencies, whereas the Jeremy Brett one does have to do the costumes, and they do a little bit more of the trinkets and stuff.
I would say they did the costumes, because they did this one, because
it's a skirt.
They went with skirts. Everybody's wearing skirts, except for Lady Macbeth, who's wearing a dress, and at the top of my head, I can't even remember what Lady Macduff was wearing.
She was wearing a skirt because she was also doubling for one of the generals, and everybody was wearing kind of a unisex base, except for Lady Macbeth. They were wearing unisex base, and then the top was something else according to status. It's pretty smarmy done, but kilt with something under it, but naked knees and high socks and
up to the knee
and little boot things.
Every once in a while, you could see a little knee. Especially with David Tennant, because he was jumping up and down.
Well, he knows how to wear it.
And crawling all over the stage.
And he knows how to wear it. Yeah, it was very dynamic. It was quite a small stage, but it has, and I will show the picture here, because there is an open curtain, a curtain call of some of the performances, but I think this is not the one that we saw, but that stage thing that you see, in this production, people were sitting on 3 sides of the 4 sides, and the back was the wall that you see there. And on that back, there was another upper stage where other things could happen. I'll show you some pictures where you see like David in front and then something else at the back, and that's behind in that other piece of place you can be. Very smart use of the entire space, because making the camera people running around like crazy, because they had people everywhere. It was really good. Yeah,
it's surprising there was no shot that you could actually see the camera people on the other end of the.
And they were all wearing black, being black ninjas, I think.
Well, no, literally there was no mistake shot where you just happened to see the cameraman. So it was very good.
Yeah, they've done at least a couple of performances to record all that, because there's nothing that's ever flawless. And it wasn't flawless.
I counted 2, because in the one he had smudges of blood on his face at the beginning, and the other he didn't. Yeah. And in one of them at the end there was this huge blood
river
that he was lying in, and my conclusion is that in the other performance they just plain didn't do it, because I was like, how could he have no blood? But I'd have to see it again. Of course you can't see it again, but I have to see it again to see if there's any shots of the stage where there's no blood at all, because I think on the one night they just didn't use the blood.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
But the camera work was one of the things that I noticed in videographing of theater, English people doing it and Dutch people doing it, and Dutch people have doing it for a very long time, and they have we have a system of doing it for television, like 4x3 is quite small television now, small television then. perspective. But Dutch television would do like good close-ups of theater productions and then do the close-ups. And whenever I saw it in any other non-Dutch production, they would always do, this would be a close-up for any of those productions, you know? And I understand why. And this one was the very first one where I saw that they actually got in the close.
Well,
I'll put in the close-up.
cameras were literally close, so
yeah, but
it's like they didn't dare to do the zoom-ins and stuff.
But it's also the choice that there is always, because a stage production is always meant to fill the stage. So wherever you look, there's something interesting going on. Even if Macbeth is doing his soliloquy, there is stuff going on the ground.
Yes, but as a person sitting in the audience, you won't be looking at all of it all the time. You are zooming in. Oh, now I'm looking at the soliloquist, and now I'm looking at what they're down there.
But you're seeing from the corner of your eye, you're seeing the other part, which is it.
Yeah, but you're there.
But if you have it like on a video, you only have that box, and so the director
has to make the choices.
The director is so worried that you're going to miss something important, and then that means you only get the zoom out.
You never get the close-ups. Yeah.
And this one got it right because there was a moment where he was doing that soliloquy, and then the company was starting to creep up on him as creepy thoughts and on the floor, and the director was cutting from the soliloquy to one shot, and then he realized no, this is where we need to be, back to the soliloquy. And if they had recorded it like 4 more times, he could have gotten his perfect shot. And not every close-up was absolutely sharp.
No.
And that's a matter of
the
4 shots.
The people were moving quite quickly, and there was a few shots that David was moving towards the camera as he was speaking, and that it takes like a half a second for that cameraman to make sure that he gets it.
If he does it on the 4th time, he will know, because another thing about theater productions is that they always do the same thing, because that is,
it's choreographed.
Literally, if David did this in the first one when he said death, then he will do that again at the same spot. Yeah, exactly.
That's agreed on.
And so once the camera people figure out what the money shot is, then but you don't get it the first few times, and it's kind of a money issue, but it's a kind of a money issue they organized themselves by making something so ephemeral that it's actually unmarketable almost. Yes, you can get some money from us punters, but a week of film and no afters, you know?
How many bumps on seats is that really going to be in
reality? And so that is not going to be enough to actually get in those 4 other film days.
And I also think it doesn't help towards getting culture out in the world, because if you don't do it for money, what do you do it for? You do it for the thing itself. You do it for culture. You do it for having people get access to West End plays that you couldn't go to. That's what we're doing here. But if you then make it inaccessible that way as well. I was surprised there's only 2 dates in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Two showings, not just dates as in they run it all in. No, just 2 showings you could sign up for, and we couldn't make the first one. We needed to get the second one.
Reverse.
Or whatever. But anyway, one of the 2.
And then we have the next. If you want to see it again in the Netherlands, you have to go to Almere or somewhere else. Amersfoort. I have no idea.
Not in your city.
Not in my city. So... Indeed, and
that's crazy.
But I
Why?
I do understand, because this is a play that everybody can access to, because there's like a gazillion versions of it on YouTube. It's not for the content. Is not. You're not losing that. I mean, it's not the only way to access this play altogether.
But for people not from the English language, the bar is super high, because you're going to go there to access something like this, and this is not your native language. It's in English. It comes with English subtitles. Woot. But English is not your first language. So I would say that it is very elitist.
Oh God,
because they didn't give the opportunity for the Dutch theater to put Dutch subtitles under it, because And even if you splatter it over the English subtitles, it's been done before. You
Yeah,
have
but
to do
that's
it.
ugly. There's
It's ugly, but it is much more accessible because, okay, I can hear him speak. I can see that he's saying the same things in the subtitles, but maybe I don't, my English is nowhere near as good. Mine is, but,
I don't think you should
as
be good. People shouldn't be going to it. This thing is.
That's the elitist part.
Oh my God.
Is that it's not accessible.
No, but it is. If you say, I'm a big David Tennant fan and I absolutely want to go.
I'm going to sit there and watch him speak Chinese.
No, that is also true. But no, I want to understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
You can go to YouTube and they will explain to you in detail every single word. Somebody that has done an analysis of every single scene of every single word of any of the Shakespeare plays.
But then you're
so
effectively
if you're prepped,
going to the opera.
Yeah, but you are.
Yes, this is opera.
This is opera.
Yeah.
It's from 1606. What do you expect?
And
it is opera.
Perfect. Everything they say is actually the words that are written down. And some of it doesn't make sense. And I have to deliver it like it makes sense, which I think is always very funny with Shakespeare.
Hey, that's what they go to school for.
You made a nice little twist on a piece of text there that means nothing. Great. Well done.
So, Macbeth.
Macbeth.
A play. Shakespeare, 1606. I looked it up and I will actually put, I have a little map thing I found in the book for some of the places. Scotland looks like that, and some of the main places like Dunsany Wood and Burnham Wood and Dunsany are over there, just north of Fife, I believe. It was made by Shakespeare, but he was already old man Shakespeare at this point. He had an earlier play, not much earlier, but some earlier. Richard II got him into a little bit of hot water with the Queen, because it actually dealt with dethroning a monarch. And it was definitely a hint. It was commissioned by somebody, and so the person who was commissioned for got into jail. And this is a time when jail and beheading is definitely a thing, and all Queenie has to say is off with his head, and it was off with his head. But everybody liked old man Shakespeare already, so he got a pass on that one. And then the Queen died, and the succession went to James the First, who was first James VI of Scotland. And he married a Danish princess. I think he was already married to the Danish princess. And so, in quick succession, Shakespeare wrote a play about Denmark, Hamlet, and one about Scotland, because one has to keep the monarchs happy and fluffed and rosy. And both these plays have a very similar feel. I think Hamlet is like 1604, a little bit earlier, and it's like almost the same feel, same setup of like a prophecy, or witches in this case, that give a prediction or give a warning, and all the rest comes from it, basically. And the idea of a man in trouble, and soliloquies, and then a woman. We're gonna talk about the woman.
Yeah.
It's some of his best work. This is why it's definitely worth seeing. The Macbeth. It is like the Hamlets. Yeah. I think I like the Hamlet better because the guy involved, the main guy, didn't do any of it to himself, whereas Macbeth does everything to himself.
Well, I always see Hamlet as it's sort of like young adult action adventure. He's a young guy, and that seems to always work very well in literature. Is the young guy, and then there's complicated situations, and he has mommy issues. But yeah, all of them have mommy and daddy issues, and that's every film is about that. Those are evergreens for. Whereas Macbeth, he may be relatively young at the beginning of the story, but
he's not nearly as young as Hamlet. He's like at least 30 plus.
Yeah, he's established, and the whole thing, maybe it takes 10 years to get to the end, but it it's not like he dies of good old age.
No, but it's the year 1000. People don't die of good old ages.
But he went on a killing spree.
Oh,
That's
my God,
the thing,
yes.
is that makes him less interesting. Like Hamlet, he had to think about, am I going to actually kill my uncle?
Because it's against his nature, and it turns
also with Macbeth, it's against his nature.
But he got himself so snookered that he did something against his nature, and then realized that he couldn't take it, and neither could Lady Macbeth.
Yeah, whereas Hamlet didn't do it, and he also doesn't live to a ripe old age, but he
goes out the way he knows how he has to go out.
He did not go on a killing spree. And I think that's the moment where Macbeth becomes irredeemable and he needs to die. Because he just goes off the deep end.
He can't stop.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that once he makes that first murder, and he is already a soldier, so he does know how to kill. Killing is not the issue.
It's not the issue.
It's the murder of old King Duncan, and he almost has like an apoplectic fit, and then when the next morning they're found, he casually says, "Oh, I also killed the people who were
the guards."
Yeah, who were implicated because they tried to implicate them, and as an offhanded thing.
Yeah,
he's not fussed about it at all.
No, that part didn't faze him at all. It was like, no.
So it's not the killing.
No.
So something else. And
no, but the killing of his king, that he had a problem with, and then he feels haunted by the king because he keeps seeing him appear in the banquet. It just drives him completely nuts.
Yeah, but it's only the king. He's not worried about...
Not about the killing itself, no.
About the guards or even the children of Banquo and his child. And he doesn't get the child, but he gets he gets the Macduff children.
Yeah. He gets the Macduff child and...
it's children.
Not in this one.
Well, yes, it is mentioned as children, but they
we see in this canon version, we see him actually kill the young kid.
The other kid, that's they had in this version, because they have so few actors recycling, so they recycled I don't have the name because it's not this is the little list I have, and there's nothing more, and I didn't leave anything off the list. So I usually print a little smaller list of the most important people. This is all I have. Usually a really long list. This is all I have. So the little kid is playing Banquo's son, Fleance. Also the Macduff children, all of them, but he's standing in for the one. And there's a crying baby on the side that implies that there's also a baby. There were more Macduff children. Okay. So he's playing that, and then later on the battlefield there is a scene, and that is in the play, of course, where Macbeth faces off against a younger opponent. And so they had this little kid do that as well. And so he's now very much younger. He wouldn't have been that young.
Oh, I literally thought that it was still the Macduff child.
No. He's 3 times a different child. And they let him stand in for one of the one of the witches. Because the entire company plays the witch at one point, but it's really well done. Yeah. And I have a picture of him as the witch.
And Lady Macduff is also one of the
retainers of Macbeth. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
cross-pollination.
Women who take on traditionally male roles, and they just don't even do a thing for it. It's just like, nope, that's what they are right now.
Yeah. There's one character by the name of Ros, who is obviously a man, and he's like a general, and he's played by a woman here. So that's the one with the lovely
who picked David up and
twirled
him around.
That one.
Nice. We all want to do that.
I think she's nearly a head taller than he is.
Well, he's very tall, so
Yeah, but she's also very tall. Strong lady.
I wouldn't recommend being taller than him.
Yeah, it was a very physical production, and I like that very minimalist in what they had. And there is a scene like in the middle of the play where there's a banquet, and that's where Macbeth sees the old king as a ghost form appear, and they simply took the stage and had everybody sit around it with glasses and pretend the entire stage was the banquet table, and he was just walking on top of the banquet table. It was really good. I like minimalists.
Yeah, the times that we went to London to see plays like this, that's one of the things that you can't get that in films, and that's stuff that I think theatre excels at. Although you can do it in films, you make art house films.
Yeah, but the problem is that film demands that you make things more solid, and whereas theatre thrives on it being the reverse. Like, we talked about the dress a little bit, and I showed you, but that is not at all 10th century of 11th century dress. It is a very simple, modernist, minimalist interpretation of something that is workable for this play. Has very little to do other than, yes, it's kilts, but it's unisex kilts, because everybody except for my Lady Macbeth, and she could have worn a kilt as well, and basically on the top is something else. And when old King Duncan comes on, he's wearing like a thing that's with a couple of buttons here, as a signifier of being king, with that thing on, and or status. And then at first Macbeth is not wearing it, and then when he has been made Thane of Cawdor, which he then wears it, because he's now elevated. And then later, when he is crowned, he actually wears the crown thing. And the crown thing is the only thing that's... The crown and the dagger are the only things that are actually substantial in the entire thing.
No, and the swords they were fighting with.
Yes.
Very good sword fighting. Well, I think Macbeth would have been better off without having had the prophecy.
Oh God, yes.
Because at the beginning, say he didn't have the Wayward sisters
blabbering in his ear. Yes.
Yeah. And bigging him up. Then they would have come to him and said, "Oh, you're now also Thane of Cawdor," and he would have gone, "Ah,
awesome." He would have been so happy.
Yes, and he would go to Lady Macbeth. Well, that's the other problem he's got, is Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Because she would have still been pushing, because she doesn't know anything about the prophecies.
No.
The first
thing he does is, and then you can tell that he really loves his wife, is send her a letter with all of it, the entire prophecy in it.
Oh, no, that's the problem.
And that's where she says, "Oh, you have to go and kill the king when you get a chance." And then you get a chance because the king almost immediately arrives at the place.
Yeah. So he gets the prophecy, and because of his own action, he makes sure the prophecy also comes through, in the sense that it gets him killed, and then he doesn't have any heirs.
And that's exactly the same thing that happens in Hamlet.
Yeah.
In Hamlet, the ghost tells him things that he cannot unhear and must act on it. And that's basically what happens here. The prophecy puts stuff in his ear, in his mind, that he cannot unhear and he cannot ignore. Yeah. And then the second time, because once he realizes that these prophecies actually work real accurately, he goes back and gets some more, and it costs him even more.
Yeah, no, it's just not good.
Dumb.
But if he'd never had the prophecy, I think they would have had a very nice life.
They would. The problem.
He would have had the other one. The king would still be alive. There wouldn't have been any dispute over the
There's
crown.
There's always disputes.
Yeah, but not from Macbeth.
No.
Especially because he didn't look terribly ambitious to start with. He was like, "Oh, I am Thane of the other thing. What's the thing?
Glams.
So I'm Thane of that already. So hey. I think it would have worked. Then he would have gotten an extra slice of the pie, and he would have been like a happy camper.
the problem is, and I think it is not. Look, Shakespeare was in 1606, and he's kind of trying to write like people having a nervous breakdown or some sort in 1606, and he
because they probably do see it happen and they don't know what's going on. So he's depicting it.
He can understand some of it for
yeah. In both Hamlet and in this one, he doesn't give the moment that happens. He goes from she's just like this, Ophelia and Lady Macbeth, and then she's already gone nuts.
It's because he understands some of male ideas, but he doesn't understand any of the female ideas. So all the female stuff is pretty garbage, but for Lady Macbeth, there are few things that are sort of like almost throwaway lines in the play, but they are there, where you become clear that she had a baby once. Yeah. It was alive long enough for suckling and for that sort of thing.
Breastfeeding, yeah.
For breastfeeding, and I suppose got deaf or just disease, and she never conceived again.
Yeah.
And
that happens.
And so there is an understanding that can drive somebody insane. He doesn't know about postnatal depression, but that may have been a thing for the fictitious Lady Macbeth. But I'm sure he's seen women go weird after dead babies, so that's maybe why he mentioned it. But why she becomes so ambitious? Maybe you usually become ambitious because you have a child you can put forward in life. She does not have a child. So what is she ambitious for? For a better life? They're already Thane of... she's already Mrs. Thane of Corder, Mrs. Thane of Glams.
Yeah.
There is no reason for it. So it makes no sense.
No. There's no Joneses to keep up with, so it's.
And if she has no children, if she had like a bunch of children that need good marriages and good whatevers, then yeah.
So that's a mystery, but it's.
1606.
On the other hand, it there's not a huge amount of really good roles in Shakespeare for a woman.
Yeah. So, this is fun to play. I think Cush and David had so much fun playing this.
Yeah. In the thing I saw is that Cush said that she did it because it was David, because she says in a role like this, your entire interaction is with the partner. Yeah. So that has to be a good, solid working relationship with that actor, and she really wanted to do it with David, and I really felt that the times that they spent together, that there's cuddling, there's kissing, there is holding on to each other while they're whispering. That's what they had the headphones for, so that the actors could whisper, and people could hear it everywhere because it was intended for a tiny hall, and this hall was for 100 people. So they had headphones because the audience had headphones. They were given headphones for sitting in the audience, so that the actors didn't have to stage project and stage whisper. They were using a different type of voice, and they were doing that specifically for this production.
Also because they were going to be recording it at some point, I suppose, because it does make it way easier for the recorders.
It does, yeah, but that's not what they were saying. It's that the idea was so that the actors would be speaking in their own voice, and they could go down to a whisper because the whole thing is about Macbeth's thoughts and partially about Lady Macbeth's thoughts. Yep. And they wanted to do it that way. And there's one moment where they start hugging each other, Mr. and Mrs. Macbeth, Lord and Lady Macbeth, and they speak into each other's shoulder, and you could still hear it. And I was thinking, when I was watching it, I didn't know that this is the headphone thing, and that's why they did it. But I was like, oh, they really did a good job there on picking up the sound. But no, that's actually why. Because they have the headphones now, they can do things like that and just whisper to each other.
It's also a... maybe not a norm for this kind of play, but these kind of headphones, the microphones, and like the little mics that they have here for musicals, are starting to become so normal, and they have all the equipment for it.
Because you're so mobile, you can just walk around.
Yeah,
there's no lines anymore. It's all by Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something.
Yes, and I was on the Edinburgh Fringe. I watched. Yeah, I think it was the Edinburgh Fringe. I watched a production of Othello that had all the 4 sides open. So this one had 3 sides. This one had that particular one had 4 sides open, and so they very smartly, no sound systems, just a single bed thing on which everything happened, and just the actors. And they had the Othello played to that side of the room, and the Iago, who is his counter, played to that side of the room. So I think that's probably what this Lady Macbeth and Macbeth were meant for. You play to that side or to that side, so at least one side will get a good performance if you don't have like the sound system. Now everybody gets a good performance, but the problem would have been for a televised version, and I've seen that in a couple of other versions that I saw, is that if you're playing to one side or playing to the other side, you have to have like the cameras at the right moment catching the right thing, and it may not if it's too underproduced. But then they're projecting to, So this is actually good. I like it. This one did a couple of things that I've seen no other English language televising of a play do, except maybe the Iain McKellen and Judi Dench version, but they did it without the audience. So they were doing the play on stage, and then they said we're going to put it on video, and they did a separate performance of just for cameras.
And they did that with the full Shakespeare recordings in the late 70s.
No, those were straight up television productions, but they were not first on stage. No, they were not. I know. They were not first on stage. They were cast as a television thing.
And they were similarly minimalist, because it was like there was no. If you need a bench to sit down on, there's a bench. Otherwise, there's nothing. It was just
they were very. They were all
blackened backgrounds.
No, they were all different.
Oh, okay.
The Julius Caesar one has the complete Roman everything, because they also had a Roman set up anywhere from Art Claudius. I think it's probably the same set, and they did something different every time, because they did the Julius Caesar properly, like Julius Caesar. They did the Macbeth was indeed something Middle Ages, and they did but the Coriolanus, which is set like 400 BCE. Something like that, before the Republic. So Rome before the Republic. There you go. And they gave up on that one and did something 16th, 17th century. So I'm not sure about that one. So give that one a miss. But
the Romeo and Juliet it wasn't quite as minimalistic as the Hamlet one, but it was towards that, yeah.
Yeah, but
very simple sets.
It's very simple sets, but everything was dressed, but they called the histories in English the King's Plays. I've heard it called the Henry VI 1, 2, and 3. They did in absolute minimalist with the black background, and literally they were riding like wooden horses, because there's a battle in it, and they were riding wooden horses because it's so minimalist. It's as close to theater as that thing ever got, and I absolutely recommend the entire series, Coriolanus notwithstanding. Because it's integral. They did the whole thing, and they left. I don't think they left anything out. So all the plays, and I think they're all on YouTube right now. Yeah, I believe so. Oh my god. Yeah, that was
that was awesome.
It was awesome.
I would go to something like this if I knew about it and it wasn't such effort, because it was on an evening that was inconvenient to us and all of that stuff.
Hey, but at least it was in our town.
Yeah, it's in our town, so it's like you make an effort.
The next stop is London.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I know people who went to London to go see David Tennant in Macbeth, because if you don't go, you're not going to see him.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
And that's irrelevant whether or not it goes to the theatres, because that person wants to see him live.
Yeah. But if you want to see a production of Macbeth, there's a lot of options. There's the selling point of this one is the particular actors involved for for that. It is. I like the production. I've seen like a couple of them, and it is a really good play. So all you need to do is present it well, and like Hamlet, it'll be a good performance.
I think it's a nice addition that David Tennant is Scottish.
Yes, that was
he
interesting.
uses his normal speaking voice, as far as I know. And the guy who plays Banco was also a Scotsman. And Malcolm.
Yes. Interesting, Malcolm. Like I said, I had to look him up, because you look at, and you know, I was wondering, what is going to be the pronouns, and it's they, them, he. I looked that up. A young actor. This is maybe in on stage 3 years. So maybe, I hope, in X years that we will see him as Hamlet. He would make an awesome Hamlet, because one of the problems with Hamlet, which is not so much a problem with Macbeth, but with the Hamlet, is that you have to be a young fella between 18 and maximum 25, and you have to do all that life stuff in that play. You have to have all that life experience, and a young guy doesn't have it, so they're played by 35-year-olds. And David Tennant also played one. The picture of him here.
Yes.
And he was certainly a 35-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
And if you can have somebody who looks younger, like this fella is gonna be looking, is gonna be looking younger for a longer time. So it'd be a more realistic Hamlet.
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
We're ready for that one. So,
Ros Watt, keep the name in mind. Yes. I hope he gets at least get a performance like this out of the National Theatre Live. If he's attached to the National Theatre, he can do that. But maybe TV or something, because that would be much better. It's easier accessible, because guys, please put it on Blu Ray for money, lots of money, and I'll pay. We'll pay. Also from some of the other productions, because I know there are some really awesome productions in the past, and it doesn't have to be like next week. We can wait a little for it. We'll wait until we get Red Ray, Green Ray,
Blu Ray.
Well,
Golden Ray.
Once Blu Ray runs out, we'll have Green Ray or blue or Pink Ray, and we'll still buy it.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
And my opinion.
And we're sticking to it.